So if you don't know, there's a game called Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which is actually a collection of 3D Mario games that all played a huge part in defining Mario as the face of video games. One of these masterpieces is called Super Mario Galaxy and is considered to be Nintendo's 3D magnum opus, apart from Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, of course. So you can probably understand my childlike ecstasy when I found out a couple weeks ago I was lucky enough to rent 3D All-Stars for completely free. About a week later, I saw the game in the mail, brought it home, and got ready for another day of staying in my room for 6.5 hours. I was pretty excited, and as soon as I saw the title screen pop up, I was sucked in. And finally, today, a day before the end of summer vacation, I finished the game, and even though I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, probably because of the fact that I had to rush it before school started, I still had an incredible time shooting off into space and leaping between platforms and planets, all backed by possibly the best soundtrack in any Nintendo game. So let's start off with the worst aspect of a game in terms of fun, the water levels. I should probably make one thing clear, and it's that the design of the water levels are great. It's mostly fun and well paced, like one level where you have to break a heavy weight that's weighing down the actual platforms you need to reach your goal, actually pretty fun and clever. Or I imagine it would be if the controls and camera weren't trying to make you gamer rage every single second you're in the water. It's unreasonably hard to control where you go when swimming. Sometimes it takes me longer to literally get out of the water than for me to beat the boss of the stage. The controls and camera were supposed to nurture this different way of movement, and it should have been like a power-up based level, where everything in the level is relevant to the actual power-up use. But instead, the controls make it feel like you have no control over where you're going, and the camera definitely doesn't help either. If they just fixed these overlooked issues, I'm 100% sure that these levels would be a blast, but it ended up being a steaming pile of dog doo-doo. Which is unfortunate, but there's always negatives. But enough of that, I want to actually focus on what I think I'll actually remember this game for, and there's two things. One, the concept of the game itself, and two, the soundtrack. Oftentimes, the problem with old games is revealed when you compare it to a more modern counterpart and ask the question, why would you play something so much more basic and rough than something more modern that's usually more polished and fleshed out, other than just out of respect/nostalgia? Like, take Super Mario 3D Land for the DS. Solid game, right? But then compare it with something like Super Mario Odyssey for the Switch, which just blows it right out of the ballpark. Odyssey has better gameplay, better ideas, better worlds, basically better everything than what 3D Land has. So why would you go and play 3D Land instead? Well, the answer to that question is also the answer to why I think Galaxy is incredible, the concept. You can have all the graphics and cinematics you want, but if the game has a lackluster concept, no one is going to want to play it, because the concept is where you can really make not just games, but any piece of media shine. This is where Galaxy really starts showing off. The idea of Mario flying through space and jumping from one wacky planet's orbit to another is just genius. It's so utterly creative, which in turn allows you to get creative as well. You can take your time going through a pipe to get on top of a house, or you could take advantage of a planet's orbit, a long jump off a platform, and land on the same house, skipping the whole pipe thing entirely. This kind of stuff is what makes a game fun, and Galaxy pretty much always uses this to its full potential. And finally, we come to the soundtrack of Super Mario Galaxy. Now, is it good or bad? Well, if you've been on the internet long enough, then you already know the answer. While I'm sure you already know that I'm gonna say yes, and also because I spoiled it, let's first understand how to decide if a soundtrack is good or not. In the case of games, I think a soundtrack should ultimately be judged on how well it complements the setting and gameplay, or cutscene if that's the case. Why I think this is probably best explained through an example. If you've ever played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you know that it's mostly peaceful and a melancholic game. The song, or song in quotes, if you can even call it a song, that plays during the day when you're walking through the fields of Hyrule reflects this perfectly. This actually works really well because it leaves your ears to instead focus on the gentle gusts of the wind, the rustle of the grass, and the sound of your light footsteps. So back to the question, is Galaxy's soundtrack good or not? Of course it is. It's Super Mario Galaxy, for crying out loud. In fact, it probably is the best soundtrack ever produced for not just a Nintendo game, but for any video game ever. Let me walk you through two songs that I think are just pure wonder, pure magic, literally magic. The song Stars Festival starts the game off with an incredible feeling of excitement and euphoria. It's the perfect track to get you immersed into the long galactic journey you're about to embark on. Rosalina's Observatory's waltzy style perfectly captures Galaxy's wondrous feeling of being in space and being surrounded by the infinite expanse of stars, planets, and galaxies. Dawn A new morning beautifully compliments and congratulates you on your completion of the game as the camera pans through the Mushroom Kingdom, finally back to its lively and buzzing splendor. And finally, last but unquestionably not least, Gusty Garden Galaxy. It's hard to believe this track even exists. The pure magic and sense of soaring through the sky this song is able to capture in just under 4 minutes is unable to be described with words. It's just impossible. I've been watching a channel called Two Set Violin for some time, and I've noticed a frequent quote that pops up in the video, and that quote is "Music transcends words." Gusty Garden Galaxy couldn't be more testimonial to that, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. This is the best song ever produced for a video game, period. Mahiro Yokota and Koji Kondo, the composers for the game, have made something more than a soundtrack. They've made pure art. Super Mario Galaxy is a video game that, at its best, it's one that I'll always look back on with a big old smile. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.